If you could only eat one last meal before you died, what would it be? Death row inmate Wesley Eugene Baker chose breaded fish, pasta marinara, green beans, orange fruit punch, bread, and milk. Well, actually he didn't choose it, that's just what was on the prison menu that day. This is Death Row Diner. For breaded fish, pretty much any white fish will do. Some people like cod. To me, cod is just a worse version of haddock, so we're just going to use haddock. We're going to start by seasoning the fish, give it a little sprinkle of salt and pepper. Then we're going to let that dry brine in the fridge for a bit while we do the other stuff. I know I said in that last pizza video that the difference between pizza sauce and pasta sauce is that pasta sauce is complex, but this specifically said marinara, which is relatively uncomplex. We would be adding olive oil to the pan and then a bunch of chopped up onions, but I don't do onions here, so I'm gonna omit that. Just start with the olive oil, heat it up a little bit, and add some minced garlic. Toss it around a bit. If it's getting a little too brown and toasty, remove it from the heat. Garlic burns easily, so careful with that. And then we're gonna add a whole can of tomatoes. Not quite San Marzano tomatoes this time, but close enough. Using your immersion blender, give them a good blending. Well, not necessarily good, depends on how chunky you want it. I like it relatively smooth, so I'm going to give it a good blending. Add a pinch of salt, always a pinch of salt, and a TSP of sugar. Give it a little stir and let it cook for a while. The longer you cook it, the more condensed the flavor will get. We're going to mise en place our green beans, so just take these little woody end bits and snap them off. Next, we're going to prepare our cooking vessels, so get a cast iron pan and fill it with an inch or so of oil. There's a bit of a myth that you need to cook pasta in a lot of water. It's actually better to cook it in less water. That way the starch will be more condensed. You know, pasta lets out a certain amount of starch when you cook it, so if there's less water for that starch to go into, the water will be starchier, and that will help us later. We're going to be using cracker breading instead of traditional breadcrumbs. In an effort to make this channel more professional, I'm going to shy away from using actual brand names. So in this case, we're using non-specifically branded round buttery crackers. We're going to fill one of these big Ziploc bags, one of these big non-specifically branded zippery plastic bags with our crackers and crush them up. Then we'll take our fish, coat them in the flour, then coat them in the egg, and then drop it in the bag with the crushed up crackers. Toss it around a bit, give it a good smush to make sure those crackers get all in there, and repeat with your other fish pieces. Once they all look like this, set them aside on a plate. Now we're ready to start cooking. We're going to start with the beans. You could blanch the green beans, but it's just another extra step that's not really necessary. So we're just going to saute them in some butter. Give them a sprinkle of salt and toss them around to coat. Now that our marinara sauce is mostly done, we're going to add some chopped fresh basil. Now we're going to salt our pasta cooking water. Not too much salt because, like I said before, it's a relatively low amount of water. Then we're going to drop the kids off at the pool, as the kids say. Now that our oil is at 350 to 400 or so, we're going to drop in our fish. Always drop it away from you, that way if it splashes, not in your general direction. When your pasta's almost done, but not quite, still a little harder than you'd like, take out a cup or so of pasta water and then strain the rest. Then we're going to add our sauce to the pasta and stir it around. We're going to keep cooking for another couple minutes, that way it finishes off absorbing a lot of that sauce. If it starts to look too dry, that's when you add your pasta cooking water. Mixing that in with the sauce will help it to blend and create a nice creamy emulsion. After a few minutes, give the fish a flip. Oh god, I burnt it. I guess the oil is too hot this time. Usually I make it hotter than it needs to be because when you put the food in, it reduces the temperature, but I guess that didn't really happen this time. After a few more minutes and it's cooked through, they say about 145 degrees for fish. We're gonna flip them back over to the pretty side and make sure they're plated that way so nobody knows I burnt it. And there we have it. I added a little tartar sauce to go with the fish, of course, and the bread is from an upcoming video you'll see soon. Overall, it's a little random. Pasta marinara as a side to fried fish is a little strange, but I kind of like it. I like the variety. I like that there's kind of a few different things here that are very different from each other, you know? A bit of a best of what life has to offer. Considering this just happened to be on the prison menu that day, you know, it could have been a lot worse. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.